afternoon, and welcome to Swiss Army Sports. Today is December 3rd in the Big 25. This is episode 27, preview and pick show for the conference championship games of college football as well as week 14 in the NFL. We're going to give our UFC 306 picks and that was totally wrong. 323 picks and preview and college basketball picks and preview for the weekend. I'm your host, Will Spain, former long snapper for the Troy Trojans, Osby Governors, and Parsley Houston Cougars. Joined by my side is my co-host, former offensive lineman for the Hendrix College Warriors, Luke Wallman, man of electricity. And joined virtually is the third man of this crew, former kicker for the Houston Christian Huskies and Troy Trojans, donning his Texas Longhorn sweatshirt today, Chase Cross. Chase, glad to have you, bud. Let's get right into it. Again, the agenda, college conference championship games, picks and preview, our breakout players for week 14, along with our college football best bets. A little bit of a reaction from that atrocity the committee put out yesterday as the college football bracket. Full week 14 NFL slates, picks, pre-week 14 NFL power rankings, best NFL bets, our fourth Mount Rushmore of post seasons. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a good one. College basketball picks of the week, our UFC 323 picks and preview, and then who's hot and who is not. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes of the entire broadcast. A punishment is on the line, and we start off with the Sun Belt Conference Championship game where my Troy Trojans are heading on the road to James Madison to play the Dukes. We are JMU across the board except Chase. Chase, why do you think our Trojans get it done?
Well, whenever anything is so across the board, everybody's slamming JMU. Vegas is slamming JMU for good reason. There's usually an upset that happens. Maybe I'm homing a little bit here because, we still got boys on that team and I want to see Troy succeed. I love Jared Parker, but, I think they just get it done. I mean, JMU has not looked phenomenal the last couple weeks, although they're still a great team. Great team, don't get me wrong. But I think Troy, through the second half of the season, minus that ODU game, has looked really good. So I think Troy shocks a lot of people, and they keep this game close and get it done at the end.
I hope they do.
I hope they do too. However, just because of punishment reasons, I had to go with the JMU Dukes here. Two reasons, really. I think Alonzo Barnett III is just going to be way too much for this Troy defense to handle. I also think our offensive line just won't be able to hold up against their defensive line. And we've been pretty exposed with our offensive line holes in previous weeks. Played well against Southern Miss, which gave me a little bit of hope for this game and actually made me flirt with picking the Trojans. However, I just, I think I went with the safe pick here of JMU. Luke, what's your analysis for the Sun Belt Conference Championship?
Yeah. Didn't JMU beat Old Dominion by 50?
Yeah, so that was also a sounding alarm for me.
So, yeah, and then Old Dominion also kind of really handled Troy. I'll put it nicely. So that was kind of why I picked JMU. So I think there are upsets this weekend. I don't think it starts on Friday, though.
Well, we have another big Friday game coming our way. The Conference USA CUSA Championship game between Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State. These teams have met once before this year with, I believe, yes, Jacksonville State getting the upper hand 35-26. Also at home, we are split 50-50 right down the middle here. Me and Michael are on Jacksonville State, and I'll tell you why pretty much. Home cooking. I mean, these conference championship games, the home field advantage definitely plays a role, especially historically in this CUSA game. But I'm going to give you a player to look out for. Cam Cook, running back for Jacksonville State, truly has had a powerful second half of the year. Last time out against Kennesaw State, 27 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown, long run of 20. But last time out against Middle Tennessee, same production, 21 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. He's a consistent 5 yards a carry back, and I think Kennesaw State, granted, new coaching staff, it and Ray took that exact step up to get to be the CUSA champions in year one of the MAC Brigade in Kennesaw, Georgia. Michael, the producer, agrees with me. Luke, I'll start with you. Why do you go with the Owls?
Because I honestly think it's really hard in this day and age to beat a team twice. And I kind of use that logic here in some of these picks. And also, Amari Odom, Kennesaw's quarterback, has 6 picks on the year. He threw 3 against Jacksonville State. I do not see him repeating that, and I think he has a good enough game to will Kennesaw State to a win on the road.
Fair enough. Chase, you both Owls. Why?
Well, Luke pretty much took everything that I was gonna say because I agree with him. It's hard to beat a team twice. It's almost impossible to do it in the same season. It's just it's college football, and especially in these conference games where they're so tightly contested, unless one team really has an advantage, it's so hard to get 2 wins, almost near impossible. And Mariota's worst game on the season was against Jacksonville State. And I don't think he has that same game again. I love what the Owls have done this year. Coming off that season last year, this coaching staff has done a phenomenal job, and I think they end up winning Conference USA and getting to 10 wins.
Well, we go to our 7 p.m. kickoffs on Friday. We have a very highly anticipated matchup. The winner goes to the college football playoff. Number 24, North Texas, traveling down to Bayou Country, New Orleans, Louisiana, playing number 20, the John Summerall-led Tulane Green Wave in his final season with Tulane. Both coaches in their final season with their respective schools, moving on to bigger schools, Oklahoma State for North Texas, Florida for Tulane. Everyone with North Texas, except for me, I'm riding with Fighting John Summerall, and I'll start off with why. Jew. Jake Retzlaff really struggled in the mid part of his season. Started off kind of strong, then just kind of hit this lull. I think he's really found his stride in these last couple of games, and I think Tulane has looked a lot better over, the past 4 weeks. Big road win at Memphis.
Yeah.
Took care of business against FAU. Wasn't exactly inspiring, but then a tough road win at Temple. And this Temple team is not the Temple team of past. They have been tougher in the American this year, I believe, going 5-7. So a 37-13 win on the road was a big step forward for this Tulane Green Wave team. And then a 27-0 shutout win, just as you got announced that your head coach was leaving, I think spoke volumes for Tulane, especially their defense. And I think they win this game on the defensive side of the ball. I think they just have the better defense than North Texas. I think North Texas, yes, is going to be able to score, but I think their lack of defense is going to allow Tulane to score just a little bit more. Plus, at home, college football playoff spot on the line. You know this place is going to be packed. The environment's going to be elite. Give me the Tulane Green Wave. I'll start with you. And by the way, yes, the producer has North Texas. Luke, why North Texas?
I think Drew Mestamaker. I think this is going to be by far the most elite offense outside of Ole Miss that Tulane has faced all year. And I think they are going to throw all over them. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. And because Tulane's maybe not used to the shootout, I think that's where Retzlaff's going to make a mistake, and the North Texas is going to capitalize. I think they have the far better athletes at skill positions. I think their offense is way too good for them to lose this football game.
Chase, why the main green?
I mean, this goes against pretty much everything that I want to do. I think John Summerall is a top 5 head coach in college football. I think he's going to do big things at Florida, but there's just too many, and not to say that there's not the same amount of distractions at North Texas, but I feel like there's been so many eyes on Tulane. Everybody's picking Tulane to make the playoff, and I think North Texas has played some of the best football after that loss that they had in the middle of the season to South Florida. They have absolutely turned it up. And granted, neither Tulane nor North Texas has faced elite competition down the stretch here, but I watched that Tulane UTSA game and was not overly impressed with just Tulane's offense. Every time I turn on the TV with Tulane, Jake Retzlaff obviously is a good player, but he's been extremely inconsistent this season. And so I'm looking for consistency in this matchup, and I got to go with the guy that has been arguably one of the best quarterbacks, at least the best G5 quarterback in the country, with Drew Mestamaker. But I think they get it done, and I think North Texas gets the win and gets that playoff spot.
Fair enough. Our, I guess, essentially nightcap, but at the same time as North Texas and Tulane, is the battle for the Mountain West. Now, if the chaos scenario happens, this game matters. UNLV heading up to Boise, Idaho to play the Boise State Broncos. And let me just inform you about the weather in this game. It is like a sleet, rain, snow game, 35 to 30 degrees. It's going to be nasty in Boise, Idaho. Y'all two went with UNLV. Me and the producer, Boise State. Now, I'll tell you why I went with Boise State. One, they throttled UNLV earlier in the year at Boise State as well. So, again, kind of like the Coosa matchup. It is the exact same, we've already played each other, but it's not a change of venue. Both of these games were at Boise State, and Boise State was able to score 56 points on this UNLV defense, only letting up 31. So, Where, does the production come in? I'm going to go with, Maddox Madsen, quarterback. I think UNLV's defense just doesn't have truly enough to stop Boise State as they gave up 56 points earlier. Also, it's going to be nasty. UNLV plays in a dome. I don't know if they're going to be exactly ready for this type of environment. They struggled on the road against Wyoming in a similar type of environment, but it wasn't raining and along with the cold. So I like Boise State in this matchup against UNLV. Just kind of a repeat of what we saw early in the year. I'll start with Chase this time. Why do you like UNLV?
I really like the quarterback, Anthony Colandrea. I know I butchered that last name, but he's played honestly some really good football for UNLV down the stretch, and I love what Dan Mullen's done there. And really, I hate saying this. This is probably me homing more than anything, but I'm kind of tired of Boise State winning the Mountain West. We need some new blood in there, and they've obviously had a down year coming off that college football berth last season. I could actually definitely see a way. I think this is probably going to be the closest matchup out of all championship weekend games. Like this could go really either way because UNLV's probably been the best team in the Mountain West, but it's going to be a very, very tightly contested game, and I think it will probably end up being a shootout, but it's going to be definitely closer than that first game up in Boise. So I got UNLV here, and I think it just comes down to the fact that I don't know. I just feel like luck's on their side this year.
Luke, why the run Rebs?
I do wish I looked at the weather, but besides the fact, I trust Dan Mullen and his staff not to have that happen to him again. That is kind of where I'm putting my faith here. I think they know what happened at Boise last time, and they're not going to let that happen again. Dan Mullen's a great coach, and for UNLV to have him is awesome. And I think he's going to have a great game plan heading into Boise. And I just don't see the Maddox guy throwing for 5 touchdowns.
Maddox Madsen, you had it right.
Yeah, I don't see him throwing for 5 touchdowns again.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'll be honest with you, I would have picked UNLV in this matchup if it weren't for the weather.
Yeah.
I think the weather's a determining factor here. UNLV doesn't run the ball, explicitly as well as Boise State does. And so I just think, Boise State has the edge there. We move to Saturday now. BYU plays Texas Tech in effectively a home game for the Red Raiders in AT&T Stadium. We are Texas Tech across the board. I'll just open the floor to anyone who wants to speak on this. Does BYU have any sort of a fighting chance in this game?
No shot.
I think
absolutely no shot.
Okay, so no shot from Chase. I'm with you, Chase. I think Texas Tech blows them out again. Luke, you're kind of on the teetering side of this. You think they do cover this 11.5-point spread?
Yes, I completely bought into it last time and failed, and I think they cover.
You're ready to get hurt again.
Oh, I am. I think they're going to be a little more prepared because obviously it's not Lubbock. Lubbock's a tough place to play. The tortillas flying and all that stuff, but I think BYU is going to be a little more prepared for this game. They got a great head coach. He is bought into his guys. He is staying there because the Mormons are going to pay him a lot of money. I just have a gut feeling with BYU to cover. I don't think it's a complete blowout. If they lose by maybe 14. I can see that. I don't see them losing by 20 plus.
Fair enough.
I inherently disagree. I mean, we watched what Texas Tech did versus BYU when Baron Morton was coming off injury, and that offense by no means was rolling. Texas Tech could have won by even more than they did. They gave up a touchdown in garbage time. It could have easily been a 31-0, 38-0 shutout. And that I have not been impressed with what BYU's done all year. Yes, the record looks nice at 11-1, but they haven't really beat anybody worth anything. Utah, you could say that win looks good, but I'm not impressed with what Bear Bachmeier's doing at quarterback. I like the running back, to be fair, but this Texas Tech defense matches up so well with what BYU tries to do. BYU doesn't have a lot of big playability, and so when you're dinking and dunking against this Texas Tech front seven, which is probably the best front seven in college football, it is really impossible to get anything going on offense. So I think Texas Tech is going to be just fine and will roll big coming off that big win against West Virginia.
I don't think BYU turns it over 3 times again. I don't think they have all the special teams issues as much as last time. They missed 3 field goals, which were big game changers. I mean, I don't think they have all these self-inflicted wounds. That is the only reason I think they cover. I think Texas Tech wins, but I think BYU covers just strictly off. I don't think they can. They played the worst game of their season. That I've watched a lot of BYU this year. That was the worst game they've ever played, and I think they're going to play much better since they have to win to get in. They're just like Texas Tech. Texas Tech, I think, can afford a loss. BYU has to win. So, like, they're going all out. It's all or nothing this week. We're going to try and go win this game, and that's why I think they cover.
Fair enough. Moving on to the MAC Conference Championship game, Miami, Ohio playing Western Michigan in Detroit, Michigan. We are Western Michigan across the board, and I'll just kind of summarize it for everybody here. It's really shouldn't be a contest. Miami, Ohio's quarterback, DeQuan Finn, entered like an NFL draft preparation phase.
Is he even
of,
going
like,
to get
4
drafted?
games. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It didn't really make any sense. Miami, Ohio's quarterback is now like the last name of Gutowski or something like that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about Brock Lowry of Western Michigan. This dude is a true MAC dual threat quarterback. 1,500 yards passing, 800 plus yards rushing. He is going to torch this Miami Ohio defense, as I'm sure y'all are all in agreement here. I'm sure this is probably, I mean, I don't understand why the spread's so low. I think this is a 14 plus point win for Western Michigan. I don't think Miami Ohio is going to have much to offer, as Western Michigan is pretty much the clear-cut best team in the MAC, and they kind of showed that in the non-conference as well. SEC Conference Championship game, we are also all across the board. UGA, the Georgia Dogs. Who's that walking down the track? It's the meme machine in the red and black. They blew out Texas, who was an inferior opponent, but I just felt like that was, notable to mention that. My problem here actually really isn't that I think Georgia is like this elite team, although they are kind of firing on all cylinders right now, but they, looked not great against Georgia Tech. However, I think this Bama team has a lot of like question marks following into this game. They did not look good against Auburn. Auburn probably should have won that game. I think a couple of calls went against their way. This is just an Alabama team that I don't think is at firing, playing their best football in, I guess, early December now, but they weren't playing their best football in November when you need to be playing your best football. And I think Georgia was, and I think Georgia's going to be able to take care of Alabama, which, it's kind of been their kryptonite over the past, few years as soon as Kalen DeBoer took over. Give me the Dogs. I'll just, keep it short and sweet. Chase, and then Luke, why do you like the Georgia Dogs?
Well, first off, if you watch that Texas-Georgia game, it didn't get nasty till the fourth quarter. But I think Georgia is the most resilient team in the country, without a doubt. They find ways to win against everybody. There was a time in the Texas game where it looked like Texas had a chance to really get into it, and Kirby Smart, turns on his voodoo magic, goes for an onside kick, runs up the score. Ole Miss, they come back from down 9 points going into the fourth quarter against a really good Ole Miss team. Same thing with Tennessee, find a way to Max Gilbert misses a field goal, and Georgia finds a way to win. Georgia's just found ways to win in every single game this year. And I don't know that they necessarily have the star power that Alabama has, but they are a really solid, well-coached team. I love what Mike Bobo's done on offense and getting Gunnar Stockton in some good positions because, to be fair, he's not the most talented quarterback in the field. So I love everything that Georgia's done this year. And like you said, Will, Alabama has not looked great ever since the loss to Oklahoma. I'm just not sold on this Alabama team yet. I'm not sold on Kalen DeBoer at Alabama yet. So I think Kirby's going to make a big statement here, and Georgia's going to win big.
Luke, and I could be wrong. Has Kirby beaten DeBoer? Because didn't he beat him? Didn't last year I
think he beat him once.
Alabama beat.
I think he beat him once.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think again, Georgia's better team. Alabama hadn't looked good. Ty Simpson really hadn't looked good. He didn't look good at all against Eastern Illinois or Auburn. I just think it's basically a home game for Georgia. It's in Atlanta. I think Georgia's just going to win the SEC. It's chalked up. I don't see any way Alabama can win that football game.
Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. Home game for the Indiana Hoosiers. The producer went with Ohio State. All three of us went with Indiana. I just think Indiana has the better offense. I know Ohio State will probably confuse them a little bit in the first half, and I think Ohio State's going into the halftime with a very small lead. I think Mendoza and Signetti will have these boys adjusted and ready to go in the second half, be able to get it done against Ohio State. Again, keep it short and sweet. We got to move it along. Got to be a short episode today. Luke, start us off with Indiana, and then Chase.
Indiana, I think, is better team offensively, and I think Indiana's defense also is very good, and I think Cignetti's a great head coach, and I think this is a Heisman game. I honestly think for most sportsbook, this is a Heisman game, and whoever wins this probably gets the Heisman. But I think Mendoza is going to end up winning this game and getting the Heisman.
Chase.
I love Fernando Mendoza. I love Kurt Cinetti. I think that, Ohio State probably is more talented, but I think this is it's Indiana's time. They have found ways to win, kind of in the same fashion Georgia has. They've found ways to win and they dominate. Ohio State, they had a big win last week, but I still don't know if they've necessarily been tested the way this Indiana team can test them. So I've got Indiana in this one, but it's going to be close.
Duke, Virginia, our final game on the slate. Luke and Chase, y'all went with Duke. I will let y'all start off. Luke first, then Chase.
This is going to be the most ACC game. This is the only reason I'm picking Duke. It's the most ACC way to end the season. Duke wins the conference championship. You get JMU and the American winner into the conference championship. UVA's had a great year. But I just think this is some weird, drunk ACC game. That is my only reason I'm picking Duke.
Fair enough. Chase, why Duke?
Gary Mensah down the stretch has played a lot better football, and Virginia getting Chandler Morris back is big, but I just don't trust this Virginia team. Every time everybody starts talking a little bit higher of Virginia, like they're going to get in the playoff, that they're a really good football team, they just seem to let everybody down. So I mean, this is chaos scenario, but I would love to see Duke win. So I'm going with the Blue Devils.
Being the producer on UVA, yeah, look, they beat Duke by 17 at Duke. This is a neutral site. While in North Carolina, I've actually seen something that Virginia fans have bought up most of the tickets so far. So I'm sure it'll be a, somewhat split crowd, but I think it'll actually kind of favor Virginia. Yes, they are getting Chandler Morris back. I think that is kind of like, the X factor here. And so I'm pretty confidently saying that we're not going to get this chaos scenario that we all want, and that Virginia is going to be the 11 seed in the college football playoff.
You need to manifest it.
I know, but I just think Virginia's going to get it done. Who's going to pop off? Conference Championship Game Edition. Yeah, I'll go for a repeat here. Jacob Rodriguez dominated BYU's offense for Texas Tech's defense. He repeats it this week. I am calling for at least one turnover by Jacob Rodriguez and a Texas Tech win. Luke, you went with the Dukies.
I went Darian Mensah versus Virginia. I think he's going to absolutely explode. I can't say that. He's going to absolutely dominate this Virginia defense, and I think they're going to end up – it's going to be drunk. It's going to be really drunk. So I got Darian Mensah.
Chase, the goose is loose.
The goose is loose, baby. I think if anybody's going to have a big game this weekend, it has to start with Goose Crowder against James Madison. Nobody's expecting this result. I think this Troy team has a lot of resiliency. If you watch them play against, Texas State and some other games like that, coming back from the depths of defeat. So I think Goose has to have a big game this week regardless. And I think he steps up to the challenge. This is James Madison, I think, could already be looking at maybe getting in the playoffs and might overlook this Troy team a little bit, and especially with their head coach leaving. So I think Goose is going to have a big game, and I think they shock JMU.
Imagine what's going to happen. Duke wins, Troy wins.
Dude, Troy goes to the playoffs. I promise you, I do not care where it is and how much it costs. I will be there, okay? I've already claimed a ticket from Patty McAteer. I am going to be at that game. So, go Trojans. Best bets for the conference championship game weekend. Dude, I love Troy plus 23.5. Yeah, I do think JMU wins. However, I think this line is atrocious. I do not think we get blown out like we did against ODU. Our O-line has gotten a little healthier, and we have looked good against Southern Miss and, decent against a really bad Georgia State team. I think we do cover the 23.5. I think Texas Tech blows out BYU. Love the 12.5 spread there. I think Georgia wins against Bama, so if they win, I'm going to take the 2.5 point spread. I think Western Michigan, you could alt-line this to, I believe, 9.5, get it at a good plus money number, and you'd be pretty comfortably sitting at the Broncos. So I'm going to take WMU minus 3.5. And then I told y'all the conditions. I think this is an under game in the UNLV Boys State game. I think it is sloppy, good, pause. Football, under 58.5 for UNLV Boise State. Luke, what's your best bets?
I got Georgia. They're going to win the football game. You generally win a football game by 3. So Georgia by 2.5. I got Indiana money line because I do think they're going to win against Ohio State. I think we've been advocating this. They should be the number 1 team in the country. But it is what it is. I think Indiana's going to win the game. I think the Mormons they're having a great week. You know, the crumble cookie, the whey protein guy, they're all paid for the coach. He's going to have them fired up. They're going to somehow pull out some Mormon magic and cover this 12.5. I got the over 66.5 in the UNT Tulane game. I think this is a lot of offense. I don't think there's a whole bunch of defense played, so I think this is a pretty easy over. And then I got Duke money line versus Virginia.
Chase.
Magic.
I love this Troy JMU game because I think Vegas is completely missed on this line. This line, I think this is the most free money out of this entire slate this weekend. Troy plus 23.5 versus JMU. I think they easily cover that. And then you know what? If you want to throw some money out and make some big money, I'd take the Troy money line at plus 1,400. That can easily grow. You know, throw $10 on it. You're going to make a lot of money off that. And then North Texas, I got North Texas covering versus Tulane. I think North Texas is going to win by potentially 10 plus points with how good that their offense has been over the last couple of weeks. And then Texas Tech, I think, dominates BYU. Me and you agree on that, Will. I think Tech has too much for BYU in this game, and BYU's offense is nowhere near what, I mean, they're not good enough to compete with this Texas Tech defense. And then lastly, I don't have Indiana money line, but I do think Indiana wins this game, and I do think Indiana will cover that +4 very easily. So I would take that for my best bets.
Fair enough. Last night, the college football playoff bracket was released before the conference championship games. Effectively, kind of the main last college football playoff bracket. Not usually too much shakeup after the conference championship games, but I guess there could be. All I want to talk about here is they bumped Bama up to 9 after a 6-point win or whatever against Auburn. Notre Dame handled Samford, got dropped down to 10, and A&M dropped down to 7. And our first two outs, BYU and Miami. I just don't get it. I guess you bump Bama up to 9 because if they lose the SEC championship game, you can still justifiably put them in at 10. But I don't understand how A&M's behind Ole Miss. And the first two out, I think, is the most fraudulent thing ever. BYU and Miami. It should be Texas and Vanderbilt, 100%. Do I think either of those teams probably should be in right now? No. But I think it should be Texas and Vanderbilt in those last two slots. Just short and sweet. Anything to add here, guys?
Completely agree, Will. 100% on everything you said. I do agree about Texas and Vandy. They have way better cases for this playoff than BYU and Miami. I don't understand the love Miami's been getting over the last couple of weeks because, you know, they hadn't. There was a time where they were ranked 18th or 19th and looked terrible. I mean, you could say that they do have that Notre Dame win, and I think that's why the committee is putting them a little bit closer. But outside of that, they haven't beat anybody. Their resume doesn't speak for itself like what Vanderbilt did, being a 10-2 SEC team, and then what Texas has done, beating 3 top 10 teams. BYU, I mean, I think is pretty fraudulent as well. So I agree with you there. And then I don't understand Alabama moving up to 9. If any team should have dropped, I felt like it should have been Oklahoma. I think Notre Dame has looked really good down the stretch, so I'm not understanding why Notre Dame drops to 10. And then even though Texas, you know, I'm not a Texas A&M fan by any means, but how can we justify dropping Texas A&M, who has been great all season, behind Ole Miss, who one, Texas A&M has a better win than Ole Miss and a better strength of schedule, but also Texas A&M didn't lose their head coach. So I'm not really understanding what the committee's doing here. If they really devalue Texas that much, I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I was kind of shocked with everything that they did here.
Yeah, I honestly think Ole Miss and A&M should be flopped. And I have seen a bunch of stuff online. All these Notre Dame fans are extremely worried because, like, nightmare scenario for them is if BYU is somehow able to win, like now that
They're out.
dropped, they are out, which I think ultimately pivots This is going to tell Notre Dame, hey, if you want to get in the playoff for sure, you need a conference because yeah, it's cool. You play USC, you play Notre Dame, you play like your three good people.
That or start scheduling better.
Yes, I mean you can't just walk through basically the bottom half of the ACC, play Army and Navy, and then play your USC, A&M. Who was the other in Miami? You can't have three good games. You have to like schedule a schedule. You can't just pick and choose the worst teams in the ACC and the Big Ten to go play. They play Purdue every year. It's insane. This is going to tell them if, say, BYU does win this game, this is going to be a screaming thing for Notre Dame. You got to join a conference.
Go join the Big Ten.
Because even if they join the ACC, like all their other sports, they are probably going to be
in the exact same situation.
I think they'd be the auto qual.
Probably so. Week 14 for the NFL. It's a big week, especially on Thursday night. We are all on the boys to keep it hot against the Lions. Yeah, I think we are the hottest team in football right now, and we keep it going. I believe y'all also agree. Our next game, I faded y'all, of course, home in a little bit. We're with the Vikes against the Commies. Y'all three are on the Commies. I'll give my justification for the obvious pick, the Commanders. First off, Marcus Mariota looked great against the Denver Broncos. I'm just trusting this Vikings defense that held Seattle just one touchdown. If it weren't for all the turnovers from whoever the hell was the quarterback for the Vikings, it would have been a very tightly contested game. I think even 9 could have gotten this game won for Minnesota against Seattle just because of how elite Minnesota's defense is. But yeah, y'all are definitely all three on the right side of there with Washington. We're a little chalk on some of these games. We're all on Seattle against Atlanta. Very overwhelming there. Here's one I want to touch on because I think it's a very, very intriguing game. Me and the producer are on Buffalo. I think they're at home. I think they get it done. They need this win. Josh Allen needs to take care of business. However, who also needs this win because they could get right into the AFC North conversation is Cincinnati. So I'll start with Chase and then pivot to Luke. Why did the Bengals get it done?
Well, the Bengals just did it last week against the Ravens, and I think the Ravens and the Bills have been pretty comparable throughout the season, even if you look at the first game that they played against each other. I mean, that was a really tightly contested game. I think both teams kind of mirror each other where they have good pieces on offense, 2 elite quarterbacks, and defenses that can be good at times, but have also been shaky at times. So I don't think this is any different than the Bengals going in and beating the Ravens. And Joe Burrow is going to be on a mission to get that playoff seed back. This Cincinnati team is completely different with Joe Burrow on the field. The defense actually looked good against the Ravens. I mean, the juice that just having your star quarterback back makes. I mean, I'm all over the Bengals in this one, and I think they get it done too.
Luke.
Yeah, also the Bills have not, outside of playing the Steelers, they have not really looked that good the past couple of weeks. And I think this Bengals team, like Jay said, looked rejuvenated with Burrow coming back. And I think they're just able to pull this one out and maybe sneak into the playoffs in the most Bengals way possible.
All of us are on the Browns. It's perfect timing against the Titans. Enough said, the Titans are ass. Me and Chase are on the Dolphins, producer and Luke on the Jets. I think that it's just choosing which crap stinks less. I think me and Chase are on the right side there. But the Jets have been hot and weirdly ruining their draft picks.
To turn the ball over, it's going to strike here, so
we'll stay.
Leads the NFL in interception.
We're on the Bucs against the Saints. We are split, though, on this Colts-Jags game. Me and Chase, I think we have the same agreement here. The Colts are kind of like limping into this game, literally. I think Daniel Jones has just looked very off ever since this fractured fibula injury, and I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Colts fall out of the playoff picture, which is a polar opposite where I was 5 weeks ago. He just can't play on this injury. Chase, you in agreement?
100%. His mobility is extremely limited. If you watch the Texans game, I mean, he is pretty much a pocket passer now, which I think the aspect of Daniel Jones is he does have a good escapability and good mobility, is what has made him so good this year for the Colts. And now defenses can tee off on Jonathan Taylor pretty much because their passing attack, if their wide receivers don't get separation, it's pretty much going to be through Tyler Warren. So I like and you know what? I think the Jaguars have played winning football over the last couple of weeks, and I think the Colts have played losing football. And it's an in-division game, and I think the Jaguars are going to go get it done.
Fair enough. Luke, why the Colts?
I think Eric Armstead is out, and that's Jacksonville's best D tackle. And I honestly think this is a Jonathan Taylor legacy game. And because, I mean, if you down the stretch, he's going to have a game where he absolutely explodes, and it's going to be against an AFC South team, and I think it's going to be against Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville. I really do. But I think Jonathan Taylor is going to like go ballistic this game. Is the only reason I'm picking the Colts.
Now, if we're all on the Ravens against the Steelers just don't look good. And we're going to give Baltimore the home field advantage here. We're definitely all on the Broncos against the Raiders. The Raiders are terrible. 3 of us are on the Bears. Chase, you're on the Packers. Short and sweet. Why did the Packers get it done?
Packers own the Bears. Short and sweet. I think the Bears have looked a lot better, and they got a massive win over Detroit, which Detroit's not bad by any means, especially in that juiced arena up there. Jordan Love actually looked really good, and Jordan Love in Toyota-thon is phenomenal. So I think the Bears keep it rolling. They played good football over the last couple weeks after having a little down period. I think Chicago, it might just be 1 year too early for them to be a true contender. So I'm going with the Packers.
Fair enough. We are all the Rams against the Cardinals. Again, 3 of us are on the Texans. Chase, why did the Chiefs get it done? Short and sweet.
Again, I think, the Chiefs are desperate now. They're going to do absolutely everything to win. And when you've got a guy like Patrick Mahomes back there, he can do the impossible. And the Chiefs have owned the Texans throughout the years. Texans have not beaten the Chiefs it's been a while. So I don't think they get it done this year. Patrick Mahomes has historically played really well against the Texans. So I'm going with the Chiefs.
And then we are all on the Chargers against the Eagles. The Eagles' offense is abysmal. And the Chargers have been hot.
Which also, I did see a compilation of the, what's it called? Chargers. Or not, the Eagles, sorry. The Eagles' offense. And it's like, oh, it's Kevin whatever's fault. But it's like Hurts throwing it 5 yards behind the guy. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't think it's all offensive coordinator. I think it might be a little bit. But Hurts just looked awful. They're fumbling the football, turning it over. It's just been bad.
Power rankings, pre-week 14. I think the Rams are the best team, going 1. Even though it's a weak schedule, I think the Pats still are a good team, so I'm at it 2. Bears are hot. We'll see how long this stays. Got them at 3. Seahawks, I'm just not sold yet, but I'm not sold on anyone being better than them yet also. So I'm at 4. And then the hottest team in football is the Dallas Cowboys, so I've already got them now in our power rankings at 5. Luke, what's your top 5?
So Rams lost, Pats won. Pats are my 1. I think that's your 1 and 2. I think the Rams are the best team in football, but they lost, so I'm going to punish them a little bit. Bears have been playing great football. They ran all over the Eagles, who does have a very good run defense. I mean, they got some big boys in there. So that's why they're my 3. The Cowboys are the hottest team in football. They will jump the Broncos to my 4. The Broncos are only on here because they're winning football games. They've won like 7 in a row. You can't hate the Broncos because they're winning. I know it's been ugly. They've been winning football games, so that's why they're on.
To be honest with you, it's just my refusal to put them on there.
Yeah.
Chase, your top 5.
Well, as much as I wanted to put the Cowboys on here, I can't quite justify it yet because they've lost to a lot of the teams that are ahead of them, like the Bears, the Packers, and the Broncos, which, they're a complete different team from when they played them. But they do have losses against this upper echelon. So obviously I'm going to start off with the Rams. Shocking loss, but Matthew Stafford did not play his best game, and they still had a chance to win at the end. Turnovers absolutely derailed them against the Panthers, who are not bad. The Patriots, I have them at 2. I would love to put them at 1, but if you look at who they beat, they have not beat anybody that is truly elite besides the Bills. So I'm not 100% sold on the Patriots yet. They've had a very favorable schedule. But credit to them for winning games in the NFL. I have the Seahawks at 3. I want to move them down, but I still think this is a good team with a very athletic young defense. Sam Darnold has played well, and they have the best wide receiver in football this year. I have the Bears at 4. Have played really good football over the last couple weeks. Their running game is absolutely insane. Ben Johnson knows how to dial up a running game. And then Caleb Williams has actually played some good football. And I love what I'm seeing out of the Bears. And then we got the Packers at 5. Kind of turning it around a little bit over these last couple weeks, getting a big win at Detroit. Jordan Love looked great, and they're getting Josh Jacobs back healthier this week. So I'm going with the Packers at 5.
Fair enough. Our best bets for week 14 in the NFL. Oh, the Cowboys on the money line. Are you kidding me? Give me Dallas at plus money yet again for the 3rd week in a row. It's just printing me cash. I like the Dolphins against the Jets -2.5. I think this Dolphins team has looked relatively better over the past few weeks, and I just think they're going to win. So I'm going to take -2.5. I do like the Jaguars at the plus side of the money line. I think it's a good value bet. I think they do beat the Colts at home. I like the Bears +6.5. I think they win outright, so I'm definitely going to take the points. And then I like the Chargers money line at +130. I think that is also. I mean, I just thought the Eagles are going to be able to score enough to keep up with Justin Herb Daddy, and the Chargers. Luke, what are your top 5 best bets?
Obviously, Cowboys +3. They're going to win the game, but we're just going to take them +3 because, it is the Cowboys. Then I got the Texans money line versus the Chiefs. I think they can win this game with their defense playing elite, and Stroud looked well last week, and I think that offense is going to start to pick it up. Then I got the Chargers money line versus the Eagles. The Eagles suck. I'm not betting on the Eagles, so we're going with the Chargers. Then we got a little fun one. We're going to go George Pickens' first touchdown, +1100.
That's awesome.
So we're going to hope this hits. I will probably put 5 on. But yeah, and then we're going to go JSN +100 receiving, which is +127. He did not play well last week. They play a very injured Falcons team and also very defeated Falcons team. So I think he goes off this week.
Chase, your top 5.
Starting off, I think we're all in agreement that the Cowboys are going to beat the Lions, but I'm going to go with the safe bet. I got them +3 versus the Lions. I think they get that done. And then I've got the Browns -3.5 versus the Titans. I think the Browns are a way better football team than this Titans team, and I think Shedeur will play a lot better than Cam Ward and outplay him here just with that rivalry. I've got the Commanders +110 versus the Vikings. I don't know why the Vikings are favored in this matchup, considering how they've looked over the last couple weeks. And then I've got the Bengals +210 versus the Bills. I've got the money line. I think the Bengals go in and shock the Bills here, and this is a really good value play for me, so I've got the Bengals right here. And then Texans Chiefs. This game is not going to be high scoring. If you watch both teams, Texans defense is the best in football, and that Texans offense is going to struggle versus the Chiefs defense. I see this game, it won't even reach 40 combined points, so I would slam the under on this Texans Chiefs game.
Fair enough. I'm going to go back to the Mount Rushmore. Just going to spit off these college basketball picks of the week. We're all on Gonzaga against Kentucky. Luke taking Iowa State. The rest of us on Purdue. Short. Why do you like Iowa State?
I think Iowa State's playing very good basketball. I think this is where Purdue might falter for one out of conference and their gauntlet of an out of conference schedule. So
fair enough. We are split 50-50 on Michigan State and Duke. Luke and Chase on Duke. Me and Mikey on Michigan State. I think Michigan State's playing elite. Obviously, Duke is playing well too, so I understand y'all's pick. Michael is the only one that took Louisville. We are all three on Indiana. This is the Tayton Connor Way legacy season for the Hoosiers. He is going to do well. We've all got Indiana. I think they're the better team. We are somehow split 50-50 on this Tennessee-Illinois game. I'm going to take the Balkan block along with the producer. Chase, I'm going to let you answer this one. Why do you like the Vols?
I love a Rick Barnes Tennessee team. I think they've played really well throughout the season, and I mean, it's still early. I think Tennessee will shoot it a little bit better than what Illinois will be able to do. I mean, these two, I think this is probably the most evenly matched game on this slate here, but I don't know. I got the Vols in this one.
We're all on St. John's against Ole Miss, and we are all on Arizona against Auburn. I think that game may get ugly. It's time for the Mount Rushmore of postseasons, per usual. And I'll even let Luke pick the number first between 1 and 10, as I have every single Mount Rushmore. What's your number?
What do I always pick? 3?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, we're going to go 3 because I think I always pick it. So we're going to
7.
Yeah, it's always the same thing.
I know.
So I'm going to push my luck this time. 4.
Okay.
Hey, Siri, pick a number between 1 and 10. It's 10. So,
are you serious?
Chase will be going first. I'll be in the middle. Luke last. This is postseason route Mount Rushmore. Chase, I think we all know what the 1-1's going to be, but just let us know.
March Madness. It's a layup.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The best postseason, the best sports tournament in the world. It is the best postseason tournament, the best time of the year. March Madness, it's easy at the 1-1.
Easy at the 1-1, easy enough. I'm gonna go with my favorite, which is the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't think there's anything more electric than hockey playoffs. Again, I said I tune in for every single game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think there's just electric moments, overtime. I mean, sudden death. It doesn't get more anxious for me as an Oilers fan whose team's usually in the playoffs than the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I'm gonna go with the Stanley Cup. Luke, back to back.
So first pick, I'm gonna go with college football playoff. I mean, I think outside of the championship game, honestly, it's great. But for some reason, every year when we get to the championship game, it is awful. But hopefully that changes this year. But I'm gonna take college football playoff, and then at 2, I'm gonna take the NFL playoffs. I'm gonna go back to back on football. I mean, the NFL playoffs are always so much fun to watch. I mean, it's so entertaining. There's never really any blowouts outside if you're the Cowboys playing the Packers, but there's never really any blowouts, and it's always super competitive, and you never know what can happen. So I'm gonna go with NFL at my 2.
For my second pick, I am going to take the MLB playoffs. I think the MLB playoffs are pretty darn electric. I mean, it's kind of the only time I really tune into baseball faithfully. So, especially, I mean, when you get like a team like the Rays playing the Dodgers in the World Series, you always root for that underdog. Give me the MLB playoffs. Chase, what's your second pick?
Man, I'm pissed off. I thought you were gonna leave the MLB playoffs on the board for me there. That was a great pull. So I'm gonna actually stick with baseball. I'm gonna go with the College World Series.
Damn it, that was my next pick.
I love the College World Series. It is electric every year. It's I mean, you don't watch a ton of college baseball up until the College World Series. It is so much fun to watch. And just the atmosphere, the environment of Omaha and the history behind it. I mean, it is a great environment. And then man, I'm struggling to really find
I'm accepting major tournaments, by the way, on this.
So it doesn't have to be just postseason. So it could be a tournament.
It's major tournaments.
Oh, well, then I'm going with the World Cup, the biggest event.
Yeah, so I got
Yeah. If we're going,
we're considering that postseason. It is the postseason of international football. So
we'll roll with that. I'm going with the World Cup then, the biggest event on the planet, the most viewers. And anytime that I don't know if you guys have watched a ton of World Cup soccer, but anything can happen. It is truly based purely off of luck. And there is so much tied into these games, like whole nations, their next 4 years are determined by what goes on in these games. So it's the best tournament in general.
I am going to go. Ooh. Now we're in kind of a tough spot.
I've got some good ones.
A personal one here, and this is I know I'm probably not gonna win this Mount Rushmore with this. I'm the World Dart Championships. Okay, and this is an electric event that we watch every New Year's. If you have not watched the World Dart Championships at the Pally Alley, you need to tune in this year. You will hear electric walkout music with like Stephen Bunting with Bulletproof, and Nathan Aspinall with what's the song Michigan sings? Sorry, Mr. Brightside. So yeah. Tune into the World Dart Championships. I highly recommend. It's an elite postseason. Well, elite. Yes, it's their Super Bowl. So, Luke.
Now I know we all hate on the NBA, but I do actually enjoy watching the NBA playoffs. I watched most of the NBA playoffs last year. I thought they were very enjoyable. I think it's when people actually start to play defense and like play team basketball. So I'm gonna go with the NBA playoffs. And you said events. So I'm gonna go. So Ryder Cup count.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going with the Ryder Cup, and it's the best event in golf. And sad the USA did not win this year. It was almost magical. It was almost so magical. But I mean, the Ryder Cup, that is a bucket list. I want to go one day. I'm gonna go with the Ryder Cup in my 4.
And I'll go with WrestleMania.
Okay.
So WrestleMania for us WWE fans out there is absolutely electric. Give me WrestleMania as my final pick for a very interesting lineup I've got here. Chase, I am just begging to know, what in the world are you taking for your 4th?
I'm in between a lot of things. I'm tempted to go with the Champions League for soccer, but if we're talking about just absolutely amount of juice, I'm gonna go with I was gonna go with the NASCAR Cup, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the FedEx Cup playoffs with golf. Coming down the stretch, this is where a lot of titles are crowned at the end of the year for these golfers, a bunch of big names, and it's always fun. It's always electric. There's a bunch of storylines. Not usually the winner's already pretty much decided, but just in terms of how much cash goes out to these different players, it's always fun. It's electric. It's a great time of year, and it's a great way to finish up the golf calendar.
That is a great pick. As we talk about fighting, when I mentioned WrestleMania, UFC pay-per-view this weekend, UFC 323, headlined by Marab Devashwali versus Peter Yan. Stacked card if you're into MMA. We are starting off with my countryman, Blachowicz, number 5, light heavyweight, who, and I'm going to get into my analysis for a second, but against the guy out of, hold on, let me not butcher this country's name, Uzbekistan, Bogdan Guskov. He's the number 11 light heavyweight. I went with Blachowicz here, and I'm going to go with by decision. And here's a little insider about Blachowicz you probably didn't know. In 2023, he drew with Ankalaev. He literally drew with a split decision against Ankalaev, and then had a split decision loss in 2024 to the man himself, Alex Pereira. This dude is semi-dangerous. Give me Jan Blachowicz to get this done. Luke, also on my Polish man.
I am. I'm
By decision.
I'm strictly on him because he's number 5, and I'm not a big UFC guy. I'm excited for this pay-per-view though, because my first pay-per-view was when I saw man.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I mean, I'm excited for this pay-per-view, but I'm gonna go with the Polishman.
Guskov. Why, Chase?
I'm going strictly off age. I think, obviously Blachowicz is very good, but that you're talking about 2023, 2022. He's easily past his prime. I think we can all agree on that now, right? I'm gonna go with the younger guy, Guskov. Even though he's definitely right now at his age, he's nowhere near the fighter that Jan is. He is only 33 years old, and he's fighting a 42-year-old man. He's got the height advantage. They're going to be at 205. It's going to be a big bout, but I think Guskov gets it done.
Another exciting matchup. Peyton Talbot fighting number 10, Henry Cejudo. Again, bantamweight. These boys fly. Peyton Talbot, easy. This dude is a prolific striker. Peyton Talbot by knockout. I do not even think this is a question. Chase, I'll go to you. You also think Talbot.
Talbot's got the size advantage. He's got the reach advantage. And then you pair that with his striking ability. This is easy for me. I don't think Henry Cejudo has really any chance in this matchup. He does not match up well at all for what Talbot does well. So I agree. I think this is going to be a knockout.
Look, you own Cejudo.
I only did because I didn't want us to have 4 sweeps. I was like, I have to do something different. So I went with Cejudo.
All right.
It's going to get it done.
Fair enough. Heading to one of my favorite weight classes, the flyweights. We've got back-to-back flyweight bouts here. We've got Tatsu Taira against Brandon Moreno. Taira 5th in the rankings, Moreno 2nd. Look, if you've watched UFC recently, Tatsuro Taira is absolutely, again, kind of like Talbot, an elite striker. I have Taira by knockout. I think he makes it in the first round. I think this is a quick, easy, go-to-sleep message sent by Taira. And I just don't think Moreno really has much left in the tank. Luke, you with Moreno?
I was only looking at stats. I just saw he lands more strikes a minute. I know, granted, Taira is more significant strikes, but Moreno's got the defense. So I do think Moreno is going to be able to edge this out, possibly.
You seem to know ball, so you're on the same page with me. Tatsuro Taira, why?
100%. He's a riser for me. I think this is a guy that will eventually get the belt in this division. I love what he's done. Only 1 loss. And I do think, like you did say, Luke, that the strikes landed per minute, Moreno does have the edge. But if you look at Taira's significant strike accuracy, it is almost 70%. So maybe he's not landing as many strikes, but when he does, it is powerful. And it only takes 1. And I think he gets it done with a knockout like you do too, Will. So I'm going Taira in this one.
First championship bout on the card now. Alexander Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Again, we christened Luke with the UFC with Joshua Van. Am I slightly homing on this? Yes, I think Pantoja is dangerous. However, if you're going to give me, by the way, Pantoja does like to get it to the ground when it's getting nasty for him on the feet. Van has 81% takedown defense. I don't think he's going to let this go to the ground. This dude lands his 6 strikes at an 8.86 strikes per minute clip. That is double Pantoja. I think this is going to be Van by decision. He withholds anything Pantoja gives him. He is going to give twice the output on offense and get that decision victory just like he did last time out. Luke, you're riding with me on Joshua Van.
I am. I saw an absolute striking performance when I watched him fight in this last fight against Royale.
Yeah,
right?
Brandon Royale.
That was an absolute war. I just think Van is going to beat the crap out of this dude on his feet. I don't know anything, but I'm homing with Van.
You are also on Van. Chase. We lost you, Chase. Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
I hear you, brother. Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
All right.
All right, perfect. Well, Van, I honestly really like what this kid does. I mean, he's young, hungry, and usually I try to, whenever I'm betting or picking fights, I usually look at the younger guy because I don't know, whatever it is with MMA fighters, once they've kind of reached that point where they win a title, they tend to not be as hungry. I want the young and hungry kid who lands 8.86 significant strikes per minute. So I'm going with Joshua Van.
And finally, our main event, Merab Dvalishvili versus Peter Yan. We are Dvalishvili across the board. I think Merab makes this kind of ugly and gritty like he usually does. Merab by decision. Luke, you like Merab?
Is this the dude who jumped headfirst into ice?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the only reason I picked him. I've seen some hilarious videos of this man, like when he's like balancing on the side of a building and he almost falls off to his death. That's awesome. Give me him.
Merab for Luke. Chase, you're also on Merab.
Marab's fearless and he's got the belt here. I think this is actually going to be a very even fight. However,
Oh, I do too.
I think it's extremely even. I think both of these fighters are they're almost, I mean, they're extremely similar in what they do well, but I got Merab in this one. I think Merab has more experience in championship bouts, and so I'm going to go with him.
Fair enough. And finally, as we end every weekday show with our hot and not, my hot is the cuts. All right, I got on the cuts for the first time this weekend, and boy, did they hit like a semi truck driving the wrong way on I-40. I mean, these drinks slap you in the face, make your mama look silly, and sit you ass down on the ground. I am bought in on the cuts. Amazing experience. My not is the committee. The committee, college football playoff committees, complete disrespect and just simply ignorement of Vanderbilt has really rubbed me the wrong way. This is a team that has beaten 5 of their ranked opponents. Now, after Vanderbilt beat them, they ended up dropping out. But how are you going to punish a team for beating a team that you thought was ranked at the time just because they didn't end up panning out after they had already lost to Vanderbilt? And they were punished significantly in the rankings for losing to Vanderbilt. I think the committee absolutely still has logo bias, especially with an athletic director from Arkansas being at the head. They just see Vanderbilt as the same old Vanderbilt, and it is just not. As you just saw Curtis flipping from Georgia to Vanderbilt, Bama receiver flipping to Vanderbilt. This Vandy team is here to stay, so I'm not too worried. I think they get a crack at it again next year, but it is completely bullcrap that Vanderbilt was 14. It at least should have been the last 2 out with Texas. Luke, you're hot and not.
Brian Hartline. I don't think you realize how much turmoil this man has caused me as a Michigan fan. That receiver room every year is literally an NFL receiver room, year in and year out. And now, granted, they're still going to get NFL guys. I'm just hoping it's not going to be at the absolute absurd rate with this man gone. And I'm so happy. Now, granted, he's got to go to USF. He's in Memphis' conference, but it's all right. So, and then my not. So Taylor Swift dropped this super catchy song called The Fate of Ophelia, and it has been stuck in my head for 3 straight days. And I want to die. It is so catchy. It is giving me flashbacks of when Peak Pony Club came out, and it was stuck in my head for like at least a month and a half. So I'm really scared because all I was doing today while I was working was singing it, and it's bad. It's really bad. So that is my not.
Chase, you're hot and not.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, Luke. But I'm gonna start off with my nod. I'm kind of with you with the committee. I think they made a mess of the rankings this week. And I'm kind of the same thing. I think Texas and Vanderbilt are two of the top 12 teams in the country this year. I don't like the format. I don't. I mean, this year it looks bad. I would love a group of 5 team in every year, but you've got to find a way to get Texas and Vanderbilt into your top 12. I know that their resumes may not necessarily stack up as well to some of these other teams, so I can understand the way they went, but you've got to find a way to get these two teams in because they are really freaking good. And I just think that they don't want to be accused of having SEC biased or e- everything like that. But the SEC is the best conference without a doubt. So um, I think you either go down to 4 teams or you get up to 16. I don't think 12 necessarily works as well as we thought it would. And then my hot for this week, we've got the United States finally finalizing a friendly match in the spring in Atlanta, Georgia versus Portugal, which I'm going to get tickets for. I'm going to go see the greatest soccer player of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo, square off against our U.S. national team a couple months before the FIFA World Cup. So very excited about that.
That is awesome. I saw that today. Also playing Belgium, which will be very exciting. Kevin De Bruyne, electric friendlies leading up to the World Cup here in the United States and Atlanta. May have to tag along. And that'll do it for episode 27 of Swiss Army Sports. This has been Will Spain, Luke Wallman, and Chase Cross. Until we break it all down on Sunday. It is going to be interesting. We will see you then.